resiliency. The forces of fate that bear down on man and threaten to break him also have the capacity to ennoble him. That was said by Viktor Frankl, psychiatrist and Holocaust survivor. Today I'm going to tell you a little bit about resiliency. I'm going to begin by telling you about a fire. June and July of 2013, a fire that was caused by lightning burned through 8,400 acres near Yarnell, Arizona, destroying personal property and wildlands. That October, my family and I went up with an interfaith group to help the community to restore some of its areas and clean up. We were assigned to clean up around one man's property that had not been burned, yet he had so much thick underbrush that he felt great anxiety that should another fire come through, that his house would be compromised. So we spent the day clearing large piles of underbrush and thinning trees to prepare him for future fires. The other couple months ago, I was on a hike near Heber Overgard, and this is what I saw on the side of the trail. Again, piles, clearing. Many people, it's pretty controversial, but many people believe that if we spent just a little bit more money on thinning trees and clearing underbrush, some of these huge, devastating western forest fires could be minimized or not cause so much damage to personal property. Do you ever feel like the fire is encroaching on your personal life? Stress, challenges, trials are coming to you and you just can't stop them? Do you sometimes feel like you're getting burned? You know, as we look at the people around us, are there some people that seem like just the smallest amount of heat, they just shrivel, but yet there's other people who can withstand quite a lot and still be standing, in fact, even be stronger as a result of what they go through? The difference between those that shrivel and those that grow stronger is resiliency. I want to show you a couple of pictures. Okay, these two pictures are from a trip that my family and I took to Sequoia National Park. These trees are enormous, and if you've been there before, it's really breathtaking. Do you think that these trees have ever faced any adversity, or did they just live in virtual sunshine with lots of water and were able to grow to this enormous height? Actually, the fire scar records from an actual tree from Sequoia show, on the tree rings, the fire scars show that actually these trees had to endure several different major fires coming through their area. So I ask you, is fire always bad? Is adversity, challenge, trouble, stress, is it always bad? Or does it have the potential to make us stronger? How about this tree right here? It didn't let a little thing like an enormous boulder get in the way of helping it to grow and to be an amazingly strong and huge tree. Okay, now when I think of adversity, this is what I think of. Resilience, I mean, in the face of adversity. The pelican clearly has the frog. What is it about that frog that makes it think that it should still be fighting, even to the very end? So, I want to know today, I'm going to tell you a story about two different individuals. Now, Dr. Seligman from the University of Pennsylvania, he is the founder of the Positive Psychology Center on that campus. He tells a story. There were two MBA graduates from the University of Pennsylvania. Both of them went to New York City and got hired on their dream jobs on Wall Street. Then the economy tanked. Both of them lost their jobs. Douglas was one of the man's name, and the other's name was Walter. Douglas and Walter both lost their jobs and spiraled into confusion, listlessness, a little depression, just didn't really know what to do. But after about 2 weeks, Douglas was able to get himself oriented again, get back on his feet and say, listen, the economy's bad. It's hard for everyone right now, but I'm a great financial advisor. I know that I can do this. I can get another job. So he perked up his resume and sent it out to a dozen New York firms. Was rejected by all of them. Well, I got to think of something else. So Doug sent his resumes to his hometown in Ohio. He got a job, moved out, started a new life there, and is doing well now. On the other hand, Walter said, I lost my job because I can't handle the pressure of this financial job in New York City, and oh, the economy, it's going to take years to recover. I'll never find a job. He ended up moving back in with his parents. Doug over here Walter over here, kind of on opposite ends of the spectrum. What is it that makes a difference? Can you learn to be like Doug when you're a Walter? Let's talk about the qualities that resilient people have. Resilient people, they handle pressure well. Resilient people know their strengths and they know how to hone their strengths to their advantage. They cope with stress effectively. They have some tools in their belt. They have a positive outlook on life, a general positive outlook on life. And resilient people tend to foster strong relationships. They have people behind them, helping them, backing them up. Well, there are many aspects of resiliency that we kind of will talk about as we talk about how to build resiliency. There's a social aspect and emotional, of course. The mental, family, spiritual, and physical. So these are all things that we are concerned about when we talk about building resiliency. All right, so let's talk today about how. We all want to be strong. We all want to be able to face life's challenges and be one of those people that remain standing. Okay, I'm going to talk about 8 ways today that there's simple things that you can start working on. I hope that as I do this, you can just pick just one thing to start working on to make a difference in your life. Okay, number 1, resilient people tend to develop a strong sense of purpose for their life. This may come in the form of religion or community involvement, service. Right here in the middle, I have the 35th anniversary Mothers Against Drunk Driving logo. 35 years ago, a 13-year-old girl named Carrie was killed by a drunk driver. Her mother, Candace Leitner, was angry. She was grief-stricken. But and she felt that the man who killed her daughter received a very light sentence. As a result, she took that grief and she has a new purpose in her life, and she found it mad. Okay, number 2, resilient people build positive beliefs about their abilities. I love this funny little sign here. It says, I may not be perfect, but parts of me are pretty awesome. Now listen, this doesn't mean that you tell yourself false praise every day. I'm great, I'm wonderful. No, you take an honest evaluation of what your assets are. That might be your career, your education. You might have certifications and certain things that will allow you to get a job, but it's more than that. Maybe you're a really organized person. Maybe you're super self-motivated. Maybe you're really good at listening to others, or you're good at staying in touch with old friends. Whatever your individual qualities are, recognize those, foster those, build on your strengths. Now, in that paper you have in front of you, I want you to write down 2 to 3 of your good quality traits. And as you do that, I want you to ask you, what's the hardest thing that you've been through? What's something really difficult that you've been through? Think about that for just a second. And then I want to say, before you even do anything, congratulations, because you made it through that hard thing and you're here today. Some of those qualities that you're writing down right now might be some of the qualities that helped you to get through that. Resilient people remember the strength they exhibited in a previous struggle when they have another struggle. And they remember that they made it through before and that they can make it through again. Okay, number 3. Resilient people build strong positive social network. Okay? Friends, co-workers, family members are supportive. In fact, studies have shown that when people face a crisis, those that are surrounded by a strong network, strong social network, have this protective bubble almost around them. The crisis doesn't seem to be as severe for those people. I want you to write down on your paper now, under the social network part, 2 names of people that you would count on for good sound advice that would support you when you needed them. Write their names down on your paper. Okay, we're going to move on to resilient people practice optimism. All right, they are, and I say practice because it does take practice sometimes to not see just the negative that's in front of us. Now, this isn't false optimism again. It's not everything is peachy keen, life is great, no problem. No, it's this is a problem, but I'm going to see if I can find something positive about it. I'm going to see the silver lining in the storm. You really can't change unless you can change your thinking. George Bernard Shaw said, progress is impossible without change. And those who cannot change their minds cannot change anything. Now, this same psychologist, Dr. Seligman, did a study about this. He was the first to coin the term learned helplessness. Here's a study. Let me explain this to you. there was a two-phase study. The first phase, as you'll see here, there were 3 groups that got to participate in this. Group 1 were put in a room and they heard a very annoying noise. There was a button in front of them. They could figure it out in a couple minutes that if they touched that button, the noise would go away. Okay? Group number 2 heard the same annoying noise, but there was no button, and even if or maybe there was, but even if they pushed the button, it didn't stop. Nothing they did made the noise go away. Group 3 didn't hear a noise at all, just sat in a quiet room. Okay, that's day 1, phase 1. Phase 2, all the participants heard the annoying noise, all 3 groups, and all of them had the capacity to escape the annoying noise by simply moving their hand a mere 12 inches. When they did that, the noise would go away. So let's talk about these groups again. Group 1, the one that had the button yesterday, quickly figured out what to do. Great, they got rid of the noise. Group 3, the one that had no noise the other day, also quickly figured it out. Group 2, the one that had failed yesterday to get rid of the sound, 2/3 of that group simply sat there in their chair, listened to the annoying noise, and made no effort to try to get it to go away. 2/3. That is what he called learned helplessness. So, why doesn't 2/3 of the group 2 try? They had failed, they didn't see any way out the day before, so why try the next day? But what about the 1/3? Dr. Seligman studied 15 years, replicated this over and over again through interviews and through other means, discovered the difference between the 2/3 and the 1/3 was a general optimistic thinking pattern that those individuals had. The 1/3 tried and tried and tried, despite the fact that they hadn't figured it out the day before. The next day they tried and they were able to get the noise to go away by simply moving their hand 12 inches. Okay, number 5. Resilient people embrace change and setbacks as normal. Do you know people who, if anything goes in their wrong in their life, just almost feel offended, like, why is this happening to me? Resilient people recognize that life's the ebbs and flows, okay? All right, so let's talk about another plant. Bamboo is very flexible. Read this here. The bamboo that bends is stronger than the oak that resists. A bamboo can be covered in snow and be bent almost all the way to the ground with that weight of that snow. But they're so flexible that even despite the weight, they won't break. And then when the snow's off, they'll spring back up. Flexibility, embracing this, not pushing against the bad things that happen to us. Resilient people know how to nurture themselves. They're self-aware. They know what they're feeling. They have the ability to be still and to recognize the signs that are happening in their body and their mind. And they have the feelings. They don't hide from them. They accept them, and they almost lean in to those emotions, allow themselves to feel it. They don't dwell on them, but they don't hide from them either. Resilient people take care of their diet, their exercise, and they also make sure they get enough sleep, and again, that they relax when they need to. Resilient people know their limits and know when to say no, know when they need a break. Okay, here we go. 50 ways to take a break. Look at this list for a second. Are these some of the things that you use when you feel stressed? Now, there's some different options. You know, here's 50 positive things you could do to help you cope with life's challenges. But we all know those people, when they are faced with challenges, they overeat, they shop compulsively or gamble, drink, smoke, and other tons of different things that people choose to do that aren't as productive. So I want you to turn to your neighbor right now, and I want you to tell your neighbor just one thing that you like to do that's a positive thing that you like to do when you're stressed out. Go ahead right now. I know for me, I'll go for a run or a walk, or I like to listen to music.
Listen to something fun or do something. Plants.
Plants, gardening. Good, I like that. Okay, number 7. Resilient people develop problem-solving skills. Again, they're not ignoring the problem. They're not just hiding behind overeating or drinking or gambling. They are problem solvers. They realize and accept the issue. They brainstorm possible solutions. This is where your social network comes in. You've got good people. They take advice from trusted sources, not just internet searches, but people who they can really count on. They seek professional help when needed, counseling, therapists, even spiritual leaders. They start working on their plan, one step in front of the other. And lastly, Resilient people set goals for the future, maybe to help them avoid this problem from happening again if it is a problem that is avoidable. Lastly, resilient people build strong family relationships. Here's a picture of my family on a hike, a pretty challenging hike actually, in Zion's National Park in October. A study was taken of individuals who were facing pretty heavy challenges. What it was that helped them the most. And some of these challenges were infertility, bankruptcy, rebellious teenager, a handicapped child. And 88% of the respondents cited family closeness as the #1 coping technique that helped them. Family closeness meaning keeping the closeness, developing more closeness, and showing support for each other emotionally. Viktor Frankl said, "Life holds a potential meaning under any circumstance." And that's coming from someone who spent a great deal of time near death in a concentration camp during World War II. So do you believe that? Do you believe that you can find meaning even in the challenges of life? Do challenges have a purpose? I hope that after today, you will choose just one area that we talked about to try to improve, to help yourself to become a more resilient person, to be better prepared for those fires that come your way. In closing, I'd like to share just one last story. This is a story from Dr. Frankl. As a psychiatrist, an elderly general practitioner came into his office one day. He was deeply depressed. He'd been depressed for about 2 years since his beloved wife, whom he loved above all else, had passed away. And the old doctor said to Dr. Frankl, "Can you help me? What can I do? I am so distraught, so depressed. I can't get out of it." And Dr. Frankl thought for just a moment, and he said, "Okay, I want you to imagine for just a moment that it was you who died first, not your wife. What do you think about that?" And he said, "Oh no, that would have been terrible. My wife would have just suffered so much being alone and mourning me. That just would have been terrible for her." And Dr. Frankl responded and said, "You have spared her that experience. And even though now you're suffering as a result of having spared her that, you have done that for your wife." And the old doctor simply shook his head and left his office. Adversity ceases to be painful when we have a meaning behind it. I hope that you will be able to see that, yes, challenges come into our life, but when we have some tools behind us to help us to be more resilient people, and when we can put meaning behind the challenges that we have, just like those trees, great growth can still come despite the fire and the scars that may be associated with that. And the beautiful thing is resilience is the key, and resilience can be practiced and learned. Thank you.